The transmission came on an ordinary Tuesday. Dr. Han studied the scrolling data with widening eyes. After 15 years at SETI, this was unmistakably what she'd been searching for. "Director Kim, you need to see this," she called, her voice steadied despite her racing heart. Within hours, the entire Earth knew we were not alone. The Galactic Council introduced themselves as a coalition of 24 spacefaring species. They informed humanity that Earth sat at a crucial FTL junction point, making our solar system strategically valuable. We were invited to join their ranks, though the Council representative, a towering amphibian named Grillix, made it clear they considered us developmentally juvenile. Dr. Han, Earth's leading xenolinguist, caught subtle condescension in the translation. The alien spoke of humans as one might speak of clever pets. The Council gave Earth 1 year to prepare for formal evaluation. "They're underestimating us," Dr. Han told President Park during the emergency session. "Then we'll have to show them what humanity can do," the president replied. The news spread across Earth like wildfire. People gathered in streets, homes, and public squares to watch the alien transmission replay on screens. Some celebrated, others feared. Most simply stared in wonder at the face of Grillix, with his moist blue skin and 4 blinking eyes. Dr. Han worked through the night, analyzing every word and gesture from the transmission. Her small office at the Korean Space Agency became the center of Earth's first contact team. Coffee cups piled up as she played the message again and again. "The way they move their eyes shows disrespect," she told Director Kim the next morning. "And their word choice. They're speaking to us like we're children." Director Kim nodded. "Can we use this to our advantage? If they think we're simple, they won't expect much. We can surprise them." Within days, the United Nations formed the Human Response Initiative, with Dr. Han as its head. Scientists, diplomats, and military leaders from every nation came together. For the first time in history, Earth spoke with one voice. The Council sent technical specifications for a communication device that would allow real-time conversations. Engineers built it in half the expected time. When the link activated, Grillix's 4 eyes blinked rapidly in surprise. "You have completed the transmitter already. Our estimates suggested it would take your species at least 2 months." Dr. Han smiled politely. "We work quickly when motivated, Council representative." Earth prepared for evaluation day and night. Countries shared technology and resources freely. Old enemies became partners. The common goal united humanity in ways no one had thought possible. Dr. Han met with President Park weekly. At one such meeting, she brought troubling news. "We've translated more of their background transmissions," she said. "Other species who received provisional member status are treated like servants. They take resources from their planets and give little in return." President Park looked out the window at Seoul's skyline. "Then we must aim higher. We need full membership or nothing." 3 months after first contact, the Council sent their first ship to Earth. It appeared suddenly in orbit, a massive vessel shaped like a curved blade. Smaller craft descended to the meeting site in the neutral waters of the Pacific. Dr. Han stood on the floating platform built specifically for this meeting. Beside her, President Park and leaders from 12 nations waited as the alien shuttle touched down. Grillix emerged first. In person, he towered nearly 3 meters tall. Behind him came representatives from 5 other Council species, a being of living crystal, 2 insectoid creatures, a floating gas-filled sac, and something like a furred snake. "Welcome to Earth," President Park said. Grillix's translator device hummed. "We are pleased to find your world so orderly. Many primitive species struggle with basic organization." Dr. Han noted the insult but kept her face neutral. The tour began. They showed the Council delegates human cities, nature preserves, and technology centers. At each stop, the aliens seemed surprised by what they saw. At the quantum computing lab in Seoul, the crystalline alien spoke for the first time. "This is unexpected. Your computational theory is Interesting. Dr. Han caught the hint of concern in its vibrating voice. That evening, she used specialized equipment to detect the aliens' private communications. Though she couldn't translate everything, certain words came through clearly. Faster than projected, potential threat, and reconsider approach. The next morning, Grelix announced a change. The Council has decided to accelerate your evaluation. We will begin testing human capabilities immediately. President Park exchanged glances with Dr. Han. This wasn't in the plan. But they were ready. We accept, the President said. Humanity welcomes your tests. Dr. Han knew the next few months would determine Earth's future. The Council clearly saw something in humans that worried them. Whether that would lead to respect or fear remained to be seen. As she watched Grelix's eyes blink in their strange pattern, she felt certain of one thing. Humanity would not be underestimated for long. The evaluation began on a cold Monday morning. Captain Lee stood at attention as the alien ships landed at the newly built testing center. His uniform was crisp, his expression calm. Inside, his heart raced with both excitement and worry. "Welcome to Earth's Evaluation Center," he said as Grelix and his team emerged. "We're ready to begin whenever you are." Grelix's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Your facilities appear adequate. We will commence immediately." The test started simple. Humans lifted weights, solved puzzles, and answered questions about their history. The aliens recorded everything with small floating devices that hummed softly as they worked. On the 3rd day, they tested reaction time. Captain Lee and 5 other military personnel sat before screens, pressing buttons when images appeared. The aliens watched with increasing interest. "Your neural pathways are surprisingly efficient," said the crystal being, whose name sounded like breaking glass. "For a species so young." Captain Lee nodded politely, noting how the aliens always added such qualifiers. Young, primitive, developing. Never just good or skilled. During the physical endurance tests, the aliens' attitude began to shift. Humans were not the strongest or fastest beings in the galaxy. Far from it. But when the aliens expected them to stop, they kept going. "The test is complete," Grelix announced after Captain Lee had been running on the treadmill for 2 hours. "You may cease." Captain Lee wiped sweat from his brow. "I can continue if you need more data." All 4 of Grelix's eyes focused on him. "Why would you continue past the point of discomfort?" "It's not particularly uncomfortable yet," Captain Lee said with a small smile. "Humans can run for much longer." Grelix's mandibles twitched. "Explain." "Persistence hunting," Captain Lee said, his breathing controlled despite his exertion. "Before we had technology, we chased prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We can keep going for days." The aliens consulted among themselves in their clicking, humming language. They seemed disturbed. That evening, Officer Sung brought Captain Lee and Dr. Han disturbing news. They met in a secure room deep beneath the testing center. "I've intercepted some of their communications," Sung said, her voice low even though the room was shielded. "They're concerned about our endurance. Not just physical, but mental too." She played a recording. The translation was rough, but certain phrases stood out clearly. "These humans are unpredictable. Their biology suggests mediocrity, yet they compensate through sheer determination. They see our persistence as a threat," Dr. Han mused. Captain Lee nodded. "Because it's something they can't measure easily. They understand strength and speed, but not will." The next day brought intelligence tests. Humans scored well in some areas, poorly in others. But what seemed to unsettle the aliens most was creativity. "Your solution is unexpected," Grelix said when Captain Lee solved a 3-dimensional puzzle by breaking one of the pieces and reassembling it differently. "The rules didn't say I couldn't break it," Captain Lee pointed out. "There are always rules," Grelix replied. As the tests continued, Earth's representatives noticed the aliens becoming more guarded. They whispered among themselves and added new tests without explanation. 2 months into the evaluation, They presented humans with seemingly impossible challenges, mathematical problems with no solutions, physical tests beyond human capability. During one such test, Captain Lee was asked to move a metal sphere weighing over 500 kilograms. "I cannot lift this," he admitted. "Then you fail," Gralix said. Captain Lee studied the sphere, then the room around it. He found a metal rod, placed it under the sphere, and used it as a lever. The sphere moved. The test was to move it, not lift it, he explained to Grelix's silent stare. Officer Sung intercepted more communications that night. They find alternatives. They refuse to accept limitations. This could destabilize established hierarchies. In the final week of testing, humans were placed in simulated crisis situations. How would Earth respond to plague? To invasion? To resource depletion? The scenarios grew increasingly grim. Through each one, Earth's representatives showed the same quality: adaptation. They changed strategies, combined approaches, and refused to accept defeat. After 3 months, Grelix called Earth's leaders together for their assessment. The Galactic Council has determined that Earth qualifies for provisional member status, he announced without ceremony. President Park's expression remained neutral, but Captain Lee saw her knuckles whiten. Provisional status was the lowest tier possible. "We accept this honor," she said carefully, "and look forward to proving our worth as members of the galactic community." As the aliens departed, Captain Lee stood beside Dr. Han, watching their ships rise into the sky. "They're afraid of us," he said quietly. Dr. Han nodded. "Not of our strength or our technology. Of our stubbornness," Captain Lee finished. "Of the fact that humans don't know when to quit." Officer Sung joined them, her expression troubled. Their final transmission mentioned containment protocols. "They're giving us low status to limit our access and influence." The three of them looked up at the departing ships, growing smaller against the blue sky. "Then we'll just have to show them what humans can do with limited resources," Captain Lee said. "It wouldn't be the first time we've beaten impossible odds." Engineer Choi sat alone in her lab, surrounded by holographic displays, showing the inner workings of alien FTL drives. For 6 months, since Earth had joined the Galactic Council, she had studied their technology with growing confusion. "This can't be right," she muttered, running the calculations again. The lab door slid open as Dr. Han entered. "You missed the daily briefing, Engineer Choi. Director Kim was asking for you." Choi barely looked up. "I found something important. Look at these efficiency ratings." Dr. Han moved closer, examining the hovering numbers and diagrams. "The Council ship's FTL drives. Yes, according to our mathematical models, they're operating at nearly 70% below optimal efficiency." Choi pushed her hair back from her tired eyes. "At first I thought my calculations were wrong, so I checked them 100 different ways. And they're using a limited mathematical framework," she explained to Dr. Han. "Our approach to quantum mechanics could revolutionize their FTL technology." Dr. Han stared at the displays. "Are you certain? The Council species have been traveling between stars for thousands of years. That's what makes it so strange." Choi brought up a new display showing complex equations. "It's like they found one solution that worked and stopped looking for better ones. They're stuck in a mathematical rut." Dr. Han sat down, her expression troubled. "If you're right, this could change our position significantly. The Council barely tolerates us as provisional members. I know it's risky, but—" Choi's voice trailed off as an emergency alert sounded throughout the building. They rushed to the command center, where Captain Lee stood before a large screen showing a star map. Red markers were spreading across one section of the map. "The Vorchan Empire has begun an aggressive push into this sector," Captain Lee explained as they entered. 3 frontier worlds have already fallen." "How close are they to Earth?" asked Dr. Han. "At current speed, 8 months." Captain Lee's face was grim. "The Council is holding an emergency session to discuss the situation. Within hours, Earth's representatives joined the council meeting via holographic link. Engineer Choi stood nervously beside Captain Lee and Dr. Han as Gerlix addressed the assembled members. The Vorchan advance is proceeding more rapidly than anticipated, the amphibian alien stated. Their new dreadnoughts have superior range and firepower. The Council recommends evacuation of all frontier worlds in the affected sectors. Evacuation. Captain Lee stepped forward. What about defense? Grelix's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Our military analysis suggests defense would be unsuccessful with current resources. Captain Lee glanced at Engineer Choi, who nodded slightly. He turned back to the Council. Earth has developed a potential solution, he said. Our engineers have identified inefficiencies in current FTL drive designs that, if corrected, could increase defensive capabilities threefold. Murmurs spread through the council chamber. Grelix's skin darkened, a sign of annoyance. May I? Engineer Choi stepped forward, her hands shaking slightly as she transmitted her data to the council's systems. The current drive configuration uses a 9-dimensional calculation model, but our mathematics suggests an 11-dimensional approach would yield significantly better results. The crystal being, who represented the council's scientific division, examined her data. Its voice rang like chimes. These calculations appear flawed. The energy requirements would be impossible. Not if you reconfigure the quantum field stabilizers, Choi explained, sending more data. We've run simulations showing. Enough. Grelix cut her off. This is theoretically impossible. Your species lacks fundamental understanding of the principles involved. Captain Lee tried again. With respect, Council Representative, Engineer Choi's calculations have been verified by our best scientists. If you would just. The Council appreciates Earth's eagerness to contribute, Grelix said coldly. However, as provisional members, your role is to observe and learn, not to suggest alterations to technologies beyond your comprehension. The meeting ended shortly afterward. Earth's representatives stood in silence as the holographic connection closed. They didn't even look at the full data, Choi said, her voice quiet but angry. They dismissed it without proper review. Dr. Han placed a hand on her shoulder. Because they don't believe humans could improve on their technology. Their pride won't allow it. Captain Lee stared at the empty space where the council members had been. Or they're afraid of what it would mean if we could. That night, Earth's leadership held an emergency meeting of their own. Engineer Choi presented her findings again, this time to President Park and the Global Defense Council. The modifications are possible, she insisted. We could build a prototype in 3 months with the right resources. The Council has forbidden it. Director Kim reminded everyone. If we defy them, we risk losing our membership entirely. President Park had been silent, listening to all sides. Now she stood. If the Vorchan Empire reaches Earth, our membership status will be the least of our concerns. Begin work on the prototype immediately, Engineer Choi. Yes, Madam President. As they left the meeting, Captain Lee fell into step beside Engineer Choi. Can you really make it work? Choi's tired face broke into a determined smile. Watch me. In her lab, she pulled up the alien drive schematics again. The Council might not believe in human potential, but soon they would have no choice. Engineer Choi's new lab was hidden beneath an old mining facility. The government had quickly converted the space, installing the equipment she needed while keeping everything off official records. Here, away from council observers, she could work freely. Welcome to Project Breakthrough, she told the 20 engineers and scientists who had been carefully selected for her team. Their faces showed a mix of excitement and worry. The council won't help us, Choi told her team. We'll have to save ourselves. On the wall hung a countdown clock, 187 days until the estimated arrival of the Vorchan fleet. They worked around the clock in shifts. Some team members moved their families to the small town above the facility. Others barely saw daylight for weeks. Engineer Choi often slept on a cot beside her workstation, waking to continue calculations where she had left off. Captain Lee visited weekly, bringing supplies and updates. The council is still debating evacuation plans, he reported one evening. They've written off this entire sector. How much longer can we keep this secret? Choi asked, rubbing her tired eyes. Not long. Their observers are getting suspicious about missing resources. The next day, Director Kim arrived with news. I've secured a decommissioned shuttle, he said. It's old, but the core systems are intact. Perfect for testing. The shuttle, an aging cargo vessel named Hope, was delivered in pieces over several nights and reassembled in a cavern connected to the lab. Engineer Choi touched its worn hull with something like affection. She's not pretty, but she'll work, she told her team. Let's get started. Days blurred into nights. The team faced setback after setback. The first drive core burned out during initial power-up. The second created a quantum field that lasted just 3 seconds. Team members argued, some quitting only to return hours later, unable to abandon the project. 93 days before the Fortune arrival, Engineer Choi made a breakthrough. She had been staring at the failed drive components when something clicked in her mind. We've been thinking like the council, she announced to her team. Following their basic framework, we need to start completely fresh. They rebuilt the drive from scratch, using Earth materials and mathematics. Officer Sung joined the project, helping to incorporate bits of intercepted Fortune technology data. The countdown clock kept ticking. 56 days before the deadline, they were ready for a full test. The shuttle Hope had been moved to a remote desert launch site. Engineer Choi, Captain Lee, and 3 key team members boarded while the others monitored from the bunker. All systems ready, Choi reported, her fingers steady despite her nerves. Initiating FTL field in 3, 2, 1. The world outside the shuttle windows blurred. For a terrifying moment, everything went black. Then stars appeared, different stars. We did it, Choi whispered. The shuttle had jumped 10 light minutes in an instant. Captain Lee checked the instruments. The field efficiency is reading at. This can't be right. What is it? 300% above council standards. They stared at each other in stunned silence before breaking into cheers. The test was a complete success. The journey back to Earth took seconds. When they presented their findings to President Park, she immediately ordered a full briefing with council representatives. Grillix and the crystal scientist listened to Engineer Choi's presentation with increasing agitation. This is impossible, the crystal being chimed. Your calculations violate established principles. Yet our test results prove it works, Choi replied, showing the data. Even if your prototype functions, Grillix said, scaling up to defensive vessels would require council approval and resources we cannot spare. We're not asking for resources, President Park interjected. We're offering a solution that could help defend all frontier worlds, not just Earth. The council has made its decision. Grillix stated coldly. This sector will be evacuated. Earth has 2 months to prepare its people for relocation. After the council representatives departed, President Park called an emergency meeting of Earth's Defense Council. They've abandoned us, she said simply. Recommendations. We have the technology, Captain Lee said. We should use it. On what? Director Kim asked. Earth has only 12 defensive vessels. Even with improved FTL drives, we can't stop a Vorchan invasion fleet. Engineer Choi spoke up. We don't need to stop them completely. We just need to slow them down enough to prove our technology works. If we can show real results, the council might reconsider. President Park nodded slowly. Then we'll do it ourselves. The next month passed in a blur of activity. Earth's 12 defensive vessels were secretly retrofitted with Choi's drive technology. Crew training was compressed into weeks instead of months. The ships weren't large. The biggest was barely 200 meters long, but they were now faster than anything in known space. 20 days before the expected Vorchan arrival, long-range sensors detected their fleet entering the outer system. There were over 300 ships. Captain Lee stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, newly named Determination. Around him, his crew prepared for their first real combat mission. Some looked scared, others determined. All knew the odds. "We're outnumbered 30 to 1, he told them simply. "But we have something they don't expect." He looked out at the stars where the enemy would soon appear. "We have human innovation. We have engineered choice drives. And we have nothing to lose." The crew cheered as the Determination's engines hummed to life, the new FTL drive glowing with power that the Council had claimed was impossible. The battle began at dawn. Council representatives watched from their orbital station, expecting to witness Earth's swift defeat. "The humans show courage, if not wisdom," Grelix remarked to his fellow council members. "Their destruction will be quick." On the bridge of the Determination, Captain Lee studied the enemy formation on his display. The Vorchin ships, massive and bristling with weapons, had arranged themselves in a standard attack pattern. "They're not expecting anything unusual," he said to his crew. "Let's show them what humans can do." The 12 Earth ships spread out, tiny against the vast Vorchin fleet. The enemy advanced slowly, confident in their superior numbers and firepower. "All ships, activate FTL drives," Captain Lee ordered. "Execute pattern Alpha." What happened next astonished everyone watching. The Earth vessels vanished, then reappeared behind the Vorchin fleet. Before the enemy could react, the humans fired precision shots at propulsion systems, crippling 6 ships in seconds. Then they vanished again. "Impossible," shouted the Vorchin commander, his voice intercepted by Earth communications. "No ship can transition to FTL that quickly." But the human fleet did it again and again. The Determination phased in and out of normal space, executing maneuvers the Vorchin commanders couldn't predict. The Earth ships appeared, struck with precision, and disappeared before return fire could target them. On the Council observation platform, Grelix and the others watched in stunned silence. Their drive technology, the crystal being chimed softly. "It exceeds anything in our records." 2 hours into the battle, the Vorchin fleet changed tactics. Realizing they couldn't hit the nimble Earth ships, they turned their weapons toward the inhabited moons of the gas giant in the system. "They're targeting civilians," Officer Sun reported from her station. "The mining colonies on those moons have no defenses." Captain Lee's face hardened. "All ships, form defensive line Alpha. Protect those moons at all costs." The Earth vessels materialized between the Vorchin fleet and the moons, creating a shield. They took hits that would have destroyed the colonies, some suffering heavy damage. "They're protecting the inhabited moons," Grelix noted with surprise. "Not just defending their world, but others as well." Engineer Choi worked frantically in the Determination's engine room, keeping the damaged FTL drive functioning. Sparks flew around her as she rerouted power through backup systems. "We can't take much more of this," she told Captain Lee over the communications link. "The drive will burn out soon." "We just need to hold them a little longer," Lee replied. "The Vorchin are starting to break formation." He was right. The enemy ships were losing their organized pattern, confused by Earth's tactics. The human vessels continued to target propulsion systems rather than weapons, immobilizing enemy vessels without destroying them. "Why aren't they finishing us off?" the Vorchin commander demanded, his message again intercepted by Earth systems. In the 5th hour of battle, the turning point came. 3 Vorchin dreadnoughts, their engines disabled by precise human attacks, drifted into each other's paths. The resulting collision created a chain reaction, damaging 12 more enemy vessels. "Now," Captain Lee ordered, "all ships, pattern Omega." The Earth fleet executed their most daring maneuver yet, appearing simultaneously at multiple points throughout the Vorchin formation. The enemy ships fired wildly, hitting their own vessels in their panic. After 6 hours, the Vorchin fleet retreated, facing their first major defeat in centuries. Of their 300 ships, nearly a third were disabled or destroyed, while Earth had lost only 2 vessels. As the Vorchin ships limped away, the Council observation platform erupted in urgent conversation. Grelix stared at the scene, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly. "The humans have done the impossible," he said finally. "The Council must reconsider its position." 3 days later, Earth's leaders met with the full Galactic Council. Engineer Choi presented detailed specifications of her FTL drive technology. The crystal being examined her work with newfound respect. "Your approach to quantum mathematics is unorthodox," it chimed, "but clearly effective. We have much to learn from each other." Grelix, speaking for the Council leadership, addressed President Park formally. "In light of Earth's significant contribution to galactic security, the Council has voted unanimously to grant your world full membership status." The chamber filled with the various sounds of alien approval, chimes, clicks, and low humming. 1 week later, at the formal ceremony, the Council Hall was packed with representatives from all 24 member species. Engineer Choi sat proudly beside Captain Lee, both wearing medals of honor. Dr. Han approached the central podium to speak for Earth. "We thank the Council for recognizing humanity's potential," she said, her voice calm and clear. "We didn't come to take your place. We came to help you find a better way forward. When humans take action, we do so not just for ourselves, but for everyone." As she finished speaking, humanity's flag, Earth in blue and green, rose alongside 24 others. No longer provisional, no longer underestimated. Captain Lee leaned toward Engineer Choi. "Do you think they understand us any better now?" Choi watched as Grelix approached, his posture showing new respect. "They're beginning to. And that's enough for today." In the years that followed, Engineer Choi's FTL innovations spread throughout Council space, revolutionizing travel and defense. Earth became known as the world that stood against impossible odds and won. But more important than the technology was the lesson humanity taught the galaxy: never underestimate a species that refuses to accept limitations. The end.